across then to Brussels to talk to our correspondent, Dave Keating. Dave, it's a crucial meeting, this, isn't it? What might come out of it?
Yeah, what we're waiting to see is if they can adopt these capability targets. This is something they've been working on for several months. Each NATO member is assessing what their current capabilities are and what the gaps are in terms of what they need to make up. So we'll see today if those capability targets are adopted. Now, Secretary General Mark Rutte, speaking earlier today, said in many ways these capability targets that they're expected to adopt today are even more important than the spending targets that the NATO leaders are expected to endorse in The Hague at the summit at the end of this month. But of course, it's those spending targets that are getting a lot of most of the attention here, and they need these capability targets adopted today in order to take that next step of the spending targets in The Hague. Now, the U.S., the Trump administration, has been demanding a 5% target. That's way up from the existing 2% target. Mark Rutte has figured out a way to kind of fudge that. His proposal on the table is that that would be a 3.5% target for hard military spending, tanks, ammunition, this type of stuff, and then an additional 1.5% on military adjacent spending, which would be things like, it could be cybersecurity, it could be investing in domestic infrastructure to make sure bridges are able to withstand the weight of tanks. This has been greeted cautiously, let's say, by the U.S. administration. And it could be that Trump shows up to that NATO summit at the end of the month and says, no, we need 5% hard spending. Because what the U.S. is concerned about here is that that definition of what's going to be categorized as military adjacent is going to get very fuzzy. Already there's been talk of some countries counting counterterrorism efforts as part of that 1.5%, even migration efforts. Italy is flirting with the idea of having a crackdown on migration count toward that 1.5%, clearly banking on the idea that the U.S. administration is sympathetic to that. So that will be discussed today and then also by leaders at the end of the month.
Dave, what can we expect perhaps from Pete Hegseth today? What does his non-attendance yesterday at the Ukraine Defence Contract Group tell us about the Trump administration's commitment to Ukraine and to Europe as a whole?
Well, we already had Secretary Hegseth speaking alongside Mark Rutte this morning as they came into the summit. There was a lot of mutual flattery going on there. So as Secretary General Rutte thanked Pete Hegseth for his strong support for NATO, thanked Trump for his strong support for NATO. Hegseth showed the courtesy right back and praised Mark Rutte for the job he's doing. The fact is that a lot of people in Brussels right now see Mark Rutte as being a mouthpiece for Trump because he's been bending over backwards to flatter the U.S. president. He seems to often be speaking for an audience of one, trying to stress that NATO is spending more and that this is thanks to Donald Trump. So we had strong support there between the two of them. But these are two people who are a little bit besieged in both of their positions. So we'll see what Secretary Hegseth says directly to the defense ministers today. At the last time he was here in Brussels, 2 summits ago, he excoriated the other defense ministers. He had an extremely harsh speech there. So we're waiting to see what he says. But again, he definitely gave the impression last time that the U.S. was stepping away from Europe. Let's see if maybe he tries to reassure allies more this time.
Dave, thanks very much. Dave Keating, our correspondent, talking to us live there from Brussels.